Hey there. My name is Michael Reed. Thank you for joining me on the Adaptive Men podcast. It's been a hot minute since I actually recorded one of these episodes. I've been super busy with life. Just recently moved into a new house a few months ago, moved down to a new state about a year ago, and have been piling up ideas in the background. But if you're still subscribed to this channel, you're still watching this content, I greatly appreciate your support and hope it'll be of support and help to you in the future. Some of the topics we will be touching on moving forward. But today was an interesting one, and I wanted to drop some ideas to whoever's listening about something that actually was kind of relevant to my reluctance and difficulty in getting this podcast recorded, which was that there was a strong feeling of not knowing what to do, not knowing what kind of content I wanted to post. Too many ideas blasting in different directions, too many things pulling me in different directions. Tons and tons of content out there being posted in regards to men's issues and relational issues. The divorce statistics are skyrocketing. Suicide rate is skyrocketing. Men are doing worse than ever by just about every metric across the board, even if people are reluctant to acknowledge that statistical reality. But the topic of this video is what to do when you don't know what to do, which is quite literally what I was in as of recent and as of late. And I think it's interesting to dive in to expand this a little bit. And I'm speaking a little bit more freelance, a little more off the cuff rather than being super structured. I want to go a little bit more improvisational in content moving forward because I'd like it to be a little bit more authentic to how I like to think and how I like to speak. But thinking about it a little bit, I think a lot of people nowadays, especially men in particular, are struggling with a sense of what to do, which is a bit of a vague way of saying they're not sure what their place is in the world, what their purpose is. How you as a man, if you're watching this, you don't know, do I want to be in a relationship? Do I not want to be in a relationship? How do I get a girlfriend? How do I find a wife? How do I work on myself? Where do I want to live? What do I want to do? What do I want to, like, what's my long-term goal? What's my purpose in life? I don't know what to do. And it's getting overwhelming. And especially nowadays, one of the, strangely enough, weirdly beneficial portions of what we'll say pre-modern times was that life was mostly about survival, but also comparatively simple. If you think about it, most day-to-day activities was just circulating around just surviving. And it sounds a little bit weird given that even today's day and age with inflation and things like that and economy kind of falling apart and things like that, it feels like we're in a bit of survival mode. But the reality is in today's day and age, you have more options than you ever did in all of human history to do just about whatever the hell you wanted to do, which in itself creates a bit of a paradox in that you have too many options and you can't figure out what the hell you want to do. You don't know what to do. And even back in earlier times, fight for survival, like I said a second ago, that fight for survival was not restricted to just people lower on the caste system, people lower down. Even people like the affluent people and aristocrats of, we'll say, eras past were not spared from just some of the difficulties of just surviving day-to-day life. Some of the richest people in all of history died from diseases that by today's standards could be cured with like $10 worth of antibiotics. And so I think at times there can be something of a nostalgia for a different time and a different era, that things were better when things were simpler, because nowadays things are more complex than they've ever been. There's too much technology and too many things pulling us in too many different directions. We're having a hard time figuring out what to do because there's so many things you could do, given that you don't know what to do. So in a sense, like the simplicity of the challenges of daily life in the past was matched by the complexity of the challenges that basic survival demanded of people, by the things that the present has found many cures and solutions for. Nowadays, food is basically infinitely abundant. You could, like back in the day, our ancestors had to basically risk their lives just to find enough food just to survive. Now you can literally have food sent to your doorstep at the click of a button. Companies like Amazon, Modern Logistics can deliver all your supplies, your entertainment, it's on your computer and your phone, and all your indulgences in less than a day, less than an hour sometimes. So I think there's something of a collective existential dread that's starting to happen with people over the prospect of the future not having purpose. Technology like AI is hypothetically on the verge of making human labor just short of worthless within the next 20 to 30 years, potentially within our lifetimes. If you're my age, I'm 37. So it's ironic in a sense that in the modern age, we have more complexity and ways of going about life and thriving in life than ever before. But the biggest thing that really eludes the vast majority of people, and especially men, I would say nowadays, is simplicity. There's an infinite number of ways to alleviate your boredom. There's no shortage. There's no, it's just an ungodly number of ways to prevent you from being bored. Whereas back in the day, there probably wasn't such a thing as boredom because the fear of death trying to survive was pretty much enough to keep you occupied throughout the day. So in a sense, people are kind of paralyzed in a way. Like, what do you do when you don't know what to do because you have too many options? Essentially, the question then, if you really reduce it down quite a bit, becomes if it's not inherently obvious what I should be doing or what I need to do just to survive, then what do I do? Where do I find those answers of what do I do? If all the bigger challenges of life, such as being able to like find a place to live and have enough food to survive, not having to physically exert myself or fight for survival is kind of being stripped away, what do I do? And it's very easy to fall into modes and habits and being of numbing out in a way. And especially as men, things like pornography, things like video games, things like food, things like weed, alcohol, drug abuse, workaholism are interesting modern ways of disconnecting ourselves from ourselves, which is sounds a little bit weird, but there's a literalness to this. In a sense, the deeper questions of your life, your sense of purpose, the things that genuinely matter to you when everything else is stripped away, and perhaps even what your long-term goals are, such as your impact in the world and your legacy into the future. All those answers are being shoved down by the near infinite number of ways you're trying to keep yourself from being bored because we don't have an overt need to survive the way we used to. So looping back around to this question of what to do when you don't know what to do is to start seeking simplicity and start cutting out things in your life that are preventing you from getting in contact with yourself. And when I say with yourself, I mean a good example of this could be if you've ever gone on a long car ride by yourself and it's quiet in the car, if you've ever taken a long shower, lying in bed awake at night, staring at the ceiling, you start having deeper thoughts. It's not just about did I leave the stove on or, like what's for lunch tomorrow. It's who am I? Like, what do I actually care about? What's my life about? What is the purpose of me being here? What's my bigger long-term plans in life? What do I actually give a crap about? What don't I give a crap about? Why do I care about people? People think of me. Finding ways to start living in more of simplicity means cutting out complexity. So cutting down, so in this case, cutting down on screen time, deleting unnecessary and distracting apps on your phone and putting your phone down or away from you for a little while if you can. Unsubscribing from the ridiculous amount of streaming services you might be attached to, eliminating junk food, getting rid of porn, abstaining from alcohol, stop smoking weed. The next time you go for a walk or a drive somewhere, don't listen to music or any audiobooks. Like literally just sit with your thoughts. If you go through a step-by-step process of starting to eliminate the things that prevent you from feeling what you're actually feeling in your body, you will start to find more connections to the parts of yourself that are more authentic to you and actually what actually genuinely matter to you and not what other people around you are telling you matter. In the psychological terms, this is referred to as accessing your default mode network. It's the part of the brain that pops online when you're having a long shower and just thinking about life and the universe and things like that. When you're on a long car ride, when you're going for a walk, when you're on a long run and you've got no headphones in and your thoughts are just starting to loop and ruminate. You start getting these weird, abstract, complex stuff. So these are the parts of yourself that have been shoved down behind superficial ways of preventing boredom and staying in contact with yourself. So odds are you have the time to find out what to do if you don't know what to do, but you're allocating it into activities that distract you from your more authentic thoughts, more authentic feelings, or more authentic version of yourself that have been living in your body, but the modern world has been trying to push down in order to garner your attention. Because in the modern age, to the market, you're easier to sell to when you don't know what you want out of life. You're easier to keep you looped. And it tends to, over the long haul, keep you a bit of a something we'll say like a loosely termed like a dread loop, an existential dread. You can't figure out why you're not getting that satisfaction out of life that you thought you would be, because you keep chasing the things that are keeping you very superficial and instead of diving down deep into yourself by eliminating unnecessary things. So if you're at a point in your life where you don't know what to do when you don't know what to do, start doing things in life that will get you in contact with yourself and out of contact with things that are not you. Start reducing the ways in which you prevent yourself from being bored, and let yourself be a little bored. You'd be amazed this kind of thoughts and ideas and feelings start to come up, and the questions that you start popping up into your head, as well as finding realistic answers to for you, finding a sense of purpose in life, finding a sense of meaning, finding a sense of depth, finding out what you actually really care about, and getting rid of the crap that you don't give a shit about. I love my job, but like money's not as important as I thought it was. Maybe that's an age thing, maybe that's a relational thing, I don't know. But I'm not a money driven person the way I thought I was years ago. I love where I live now. I love the simplicity of the neighborhood I'm in now. I love going for walks every day and traveling in tons of nature where I live now. It's amazing to be out there. Whereas previously I'd be in a very high stimulation environment, bringing my phone with me everywhere. Nowadays, I just try to keep it simple. And as a function of simplicity, I'm finding more and more connection to myself, more authenticity to things that I actually do enjoy doing, and getting rid of the things that doesn't really serve me in a productive way for longer term goals. So this is a very long roundabout way of saying, ultimately, if you want to know what you want to do with your life when you don't know what to do with your life, whether that be the next step in a project you're working on, or a major life goal you're working towards, or quite literally what to do for tomorrow, start finding ways to connect with yourself, and by extension, your default mode network of your brain, by getting in touch with your body. Stay there long enough on a more frequent basis, and you'll find just about all the answers you need, even if it's been too noisy up to this point to hear them. If you're still subscribed to this channel, I really appreciate your support. You'll be seeing more content coming in the future. I'm going to try and get back into a weekly schedule. My aim is to start producing content targeted at men in particular, with discussing topics such as emotions, such as the psychology and the science of emotions, the challenges that men are going through today, and practical, meaningful ways that men can start finding success in relationships and their job and their sense of purpose in life by coming in from a more of a scientific angle rather than a more spiritual angle, if possible, for those guys who might be a little bit more science oriented like me. But if you've still been with this channel, I appreciate your support, and I'll see you soon. Have a good day.